What's going on, guys? I'm Times, and recently a brand new episode for the Pokemon Sun and Moon anime aired on TV. Episode 98, splitting up the combination, Ash and Rotom, which it was certainly an adequate time watching the episode. So because of that, I've decided for today's video that I will review this latest episode. Hopefully getting yourself to check out the episode too, if you haven't already. And with that simple intro now stated, let's jump right into this review. So the episode begins off with us witnessing a recording session for the detective show Rotom loves so much. Rotom even being at the location along with a forced Ash. However, once Rotom detects a continuity issue within the script, he jumps into the recording session to tell everybody the mistake, which they are then amazed with Rotom's knowledge on the show. If only Rotom was in older seasons to do that too, such as Ash not remembering certain people or Pokemon. Actually, I don't like Rotom that much. I'll take continuity issues over him being in older seasons. Jumping back into the plot though, the director then asks Rotom if he wants to take his own role on the detective show due to his great knowledge and decent acting skills, which of course Rotom takes upon this offer. You know what's funny though? The director stated that shows tend to go rut if they go on for too long. I swear to god if the writers were making a joke to themselves there, then that's brilliant. Gotta love Lycanroc and Torracat playing in the background too. Such cuties. Throughout the rest of the day or the next day, I'm not too sure, Rotom then starts to practice his acting skills, even impersonating all of his friends. Milo pouncing up after Rotom impersonates her, which was very adorable. I may not like Milo as much too, but I can't deny she is cute. Just not as much as Lillie. After this though, Sophocles scolds Rotom saying impersonation isn't what you just need for acting, which Rotom then agrees with, and everybody then practices acting together, which I guess was a decent scene. Rotom being superb in the actual recording session for the detective show. But this is where the director then asks Rotom to have a permanent role on the show and even travel overseas to record, which Rotom loves the sound of and accepts the offer, making Ash become very shocked and then snap at Rotom expressing his disappointment, just wanting his friend to stick by his side. Come on Ash, you do this to your own friends all the time, let Rotom go. Anyway, regardless of that, Rotom ends up getting annoyed that Ash doesn't respect his wish and they part ways for now. Now yes, it was weird to see Ash snap, but stay tuned later in this review to see why I don't mind that it happened. The next day, Ash has a normal school day, but the classmates realize Ash is upset because Rotom would be leaving him. So Lillie decides after school to have a conversation to Ash about how she felt the exact same way when she had to move out from her mother's house. But after having a conversation and realizing how much they care for each other, they both bonded again and went their separate ways. Knowing they will always still love each other though, despite being so far apart. Which was just such a powerful and moving scene. Ash even then realizing that he was in the wrong towards the end and promises to Lillie that he and Rotom will always stay friends. Both of them then blushing at each other, which that was, not gonna lie, cute. I can now state that when Rotom visits the detective actor's house, he realizes that he has a strong dream just like Ash and starts to wonder what his dream actually is. Finally working it out towards the end, which he says to Ash in their reunion to make up, which is that he wants to be the best Pokédex in the universe, which he needs to travel alongside Ash to complete that. So he ends up staying. And besides, he does really care for Ash, despite him being loud at him at times. Ash even apologized to him before this, like he promised to Lillie. The episode then ends off with Ash and Rotom watching a chatted on TV take the big role Rotom could have gotten, and we then realize that the crew only went overseas to record for one episode, making the whole conflict between Ash and Rotom in this episode entirely pointless. But I gotta admit, that was kinda amusing, as Chatted is as an annoying of a Pokemon as Rotom Dex. With that story now said, let's now move on to my overall thoughts we got on this episode. Of course, as we could already guess from the previews and summaries, it was one of those episodes that was very cliche and typical. aka the cliche nurse being a character needing or wanting to leave, but ends up staying in the end, and the typical nurse being the whole concept of Ash and Rotom having a fight, but making up in the end. I've seen these concepts so many times, which is why the plot wasn't anything too special for me. However, as I've been saying with recent Sun and Moon episodes too, there are highlights that will at least make the episode a little bit more memorable and enjoyable, aka all the positive reactions I gave in the storytelling section. It may not help towards the rating when put on the episode as a whole, but at least the overall end product didn't end up being stale. It was a little bit better than I expected. From what I've seen from the fanbase's reactions to this episode so far though, it looks like the only thing people only really cared about was the Ash and Lillie scene, and they hated the rest of the episode. Which is very understandable, as 1, that was the best scene, 2, it's a filler episode, and 3, it's a Rotom episode, which barely anybody likes Rotom, including me. Although, I have also seen people say that Ash was very out of character in this episode, that being the point I was trying to lead up to. And what I have to say about that is, that's the point, everybody. Ash just let his emotions of Rotom leaving and their entire weird friendship get to him. The whole point of the Ash and Lillie scene was for Ash to understand that he was wrong when learning how somebody else reacted in his situation, and that Rotom is his friend no matter what, despite personality clashes. We see that all the time between Ash and Rotom, but deep down, they love each other. And then of course, Ash goes to apologize to Rotom, and everything then turns out a-okay in the end. Rotom even getting some development. I guess? I don't really know what to call that part, although it was lovely that he was at least getting some focus and character. As quoted from a tweet I saw on Twitter, if you think about it, Rotom's got more personality and development than both Tracy and Max. Let that sink in. That's how I at least feel. And sure, I still may not like him that much as a character overall, but that's great to see how he's at least getting some attention drawn to him. But regardless of Rotom, overall regarding that out of character Ash though, as you can see, I feel like the argument to downgrade the episode is useless, seeming as it was meant to be the entire episode's plot. If Ash was acting out of character in another episode where it's not meant to relate to the story, then that would indeed be a problem, but I seriously don't see it being a problem here for this episode specifically. Like I also stated, there are personality clashes between Ash and Rotom in this anime, so it's also very understandable to see a plot between the two fighting rise up. Even me at times feel like a friend isn't a friend because of their different, strong personality, me having clashes with it. But then, I realized that I am wrong and that we're always going to be good friends despite little differences. Differences isn't a bad thing. And you know, just by thinking about it even more, we all are out of character at times. For example, we might be such a positive upbeat guy, but sometimes we may just rant on a little bit. So, it's not weird for somebody to go out of character in general as well. But still, I feel like Ash going out of character in this episode, like I stated, isn't anything bad whatsoever due to it being the whole plot focus. Honestly, I didn't expect to go that deep into the episode story, but hopefully you understand my point of view now, and if your opinion doesn't change on this entire topic, then fair enough I guess. We all have different opinions at the end of the day. I was just trying to show you my point of view and probably the writer's intentions. But overall, once again, this episode's plot is very typical. No such unique factors. So, I just found the episode average at best. Very good for a Rotom episode too, seeming as I don't particularly like him overall. With that story section now completed though, let's now move on to the animation and music aspects we got in this episode. Firstly for the animation, it just looked decent throughout the whole episode, with a few small scenes looking quite weird to my eyes. Don't know if that was just me though. But regardless of that, I actually have no outstanding highlights I can give for the animation, which is disappointing. However, it's a filler episode, so it's also very understandable. It doesn't need to be that flashy. As for the music aspects though, that's where greatness shines, as the tune that played during Ash's and Rotom's argument was very fitting and sweet, and even during the Ash and Lillie scene. The music during that particular scene played a huge factor of why it was so moving and powerful as well. It fit extraordinarily. It was beautiful. As you can see, just the overall tunes this episode had was very fitting, making it great in that aspect. With that said, that concludes all the sections for this review. So all that's left is to give a rating for this episode, which I'm gonna give it a 4 or 5 out of 10. Very average, although I do respect the plot. And for sure, the Ash and Lillie scene was definitely the best highlight of the episode, which actually helped save the episode a little bit from a lower rating. It was just that moving. Do I recommend this episode though? To be honest, not really. Although, if you do have free time, then do put this episode on, as you might find some small enjoyable features, just like I did. If you have watched this episode though, then let me know in the comments down below what you thought of this episode though. I'd love to hear. But that everybody now finishes off this review. So, if you enjoyed this video, then be sure to consider leaving a like, a subscribe and a share for future Pokemon content. It helps out a ton. You'll also become a member of the Entity Squad. Entity Maze merchandise is available in the description below too. For now, this is Entity Maze, signing out. Thank you for watching.